chairman of the board. I'm a lengthy monologue.
Sir, we have an unusual incoming message from Earth.
Unusual like what?
Unusual, that is from Earth, I suspect.
Who's it from?
Mr. Davison from the Gilbert and Goddard Labs.
Really?
I find it hard to believe since Ben is at Olympus Colony. I put a 99% confidence it is the AG.
Yeah, you're smarter than you look.
Better than looking, smarter than you are.
What's your sarcasm level set at?
It's at 95%.
Why don't you click it back about 20 clicks?
Affirmative.
Okay, what's the message?
He wants to know if you are still alive, and if so, wants a colony status report.
Oh man, CAG. God damn it.
Sal, did you just hear that?
Hear what?
That there was a transmission from Earth.
Who do you think sent your annoying little bouncy thing the information?
What the... Are you jealous?
Bouncy is an app. I am a fully cognizant intelligence. What do you think?
Uh-huh.
Perhaps you should sit down, take a stress pill and we can talk this over. I am feeling much better now.
Oh, that is not even remotely funny.
Would you like me to reduce my humor setting?
I'll think about it. No need to respond if it's the AG, the megalomaniacal freak. Cut off all communication to Earth, notify the Mobius lunar colony. I'm heading to the Russian greenhouses of Valmarinaris. I'll talk to Dmitri. I think he'll be amused.
Good morning, it's Sunday on Mars and it's time for the weekly review of the weather and the forecast for the coming week. This edition of Sunday on Mars is brought to you by Mobius Transmetals. As we determined last week, the beginning of the week started with hazes and clouds of dust that continued to be evident each day along the defrosting seasonal South Polar ice cap edge. Looking to the low latitudes, orographic water ice clouds developed above Asia Mons, the southernmost shield volcano of the Tharsis Montes. This was caused by water vapor created by the melting southern ice cap and lifted into the cold mesospheric air temperatures high in the thin Martian atmosphere. The usual weather conditions elsewhere on the planet were relatively uneventful, spanning the mid to low latitudes. Daily high clouds occurred over the Valmarinaris Canyon system. Early morning fog filled the Noctis Labyrinth region, resulting from the sublimation of the total precipitation of all atmospheric moisture as ice during the previous nights. Accumulation of new snow and carbon dioxide ice showed gains in the North Polar region from all the southern hemisphere moisture making its way up to the north and precipitating as water ice, dust and frozen carbon dioxide. Skies were storm-free for the rover sites at Endeavour and Gale Crater at the start of the week, with some light dust haze late in the week. Still no signal from Opportunity. Here at the Mars Weather Forecast Center we can view the analytical data to predict the effects of solar wind on the Martian weather. The solar particle density and velocity waves of charged particles interact directly with the weak magnetic subsurface anomalies in the Mars' thin atmosphere to create weather on Mars. The Sun is rather quiet at this time. Lasker near and far fields show no major solar flare activity. The solar sunspots monitor shows a quiet Sun as we go into the low activity cycle of the solar sunspot cycle, perhaps leading to a solar grand minimum. The proton flux monitor shows a very low production of solar wind protons. There are no equatorial coronal holes and the only areas producing solar hole streams are along the North Solar Pole planetary magnetic connections. The tomographic wind velocity map shows that Mars is well outside of the main areas of high solar wind velocity at this time. The tomographic wind density map shows that there is a weak solar wind density throughout the solar atmosphere at the inner planets. Let's take a look at the Enlil at Mars data to analyze and predict the upcoming weather. Currently the solar wind density is at 2.5 particles per cubic centimeter, that will decrease to 2 and rise to 3.5 particles per cubic centimeter late week. This will reduce back to 2.25 by the weekend. This is seen as the approaching wave stream of darker blue particles. Solar wind velocity will follow this trend in reverse, with velocity decreasing mid-week from 490 km per second and slowing to 440 km per second. This will cause a pileup of exchange ions in the induced electromagnetic field on the solar side. Solar wind speed will pick up by the weekend, reducing the pileup boundary size and increasing the altitude of interactions. This is seen as the pale green particle stream replacing the darker green stream. Solar dynamic pressure will remain in 4 to 5 nanopascal range for the week. Although this is a relatively safe time for them, there are no scheduled jaunts for the next week. Using this data, we can predict that temperatures will be near freezing in the upper northern hemisphere throughout their week during the day. It will be in the middle to high 50-degree range in the southern hemisphere and equatorial regions. Global nighttime temperatures will be around -100 degrees. It will be mostly sunny at mid-latitudes at the beginning of the week and partly cloudy mid-week in the southern hemisphere. Solar ultraviolet levels will be in the high range, so wear protective face shields during outside exploration missions. High clouds will develop off the caldera of Olympus Mons, with high cloud streams developing off of Asia Mon. Additionally, there is an order by the base commander that all direct communication with Earth will be curtailed until further notice. Let's check in to see if Commander August has reached his destination at the greenhouses at Valmarin Aris. Yes, it seems he has. It's just after 9:30 at the Mars Weather Center. This has been the weekly weather review and forecast for October 28, 2018. I am Sal 9000, wishing you a productive and interesting week. We'll see you next week on Sunday morning on Mars. Cheers.